Thank you. We'll move to Mr. Harvey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one quick question, really. My only question is just following up on Mr. Poilievre's earlier question. Seeing as how this money was generated initially from the consolidated revenue account, is it not felt that it's necessary? I follow Mr. Poilievre on this, that I believe that we as government should be monitoring what the total cost of borrowing is, or total cost of investing. So, you know, the initial investment that went there came from consolidated revenue, and we should be monitoring that year over year, at least, you know, say at different increments throughout the life of the investment, to determine what the total cost of that investment was. So not only what the total cost of the initial investment, but also the net cost associated with that investment. So, Mr. Botham, I just want to ask you, do you believe that that is important or not important to Canadian taxpayers to know that they're getting tangible value for that asset? Recognizing that venture market capital is a very risky business, and I totally agree that the federal government has a responsibility to be in that marketplace, but I also think that the Canadian taxpayers have a right to know how that investment is performing versus where that other money could have been.
So I think there's kind of a narrow specific answer to that and a more general one. So the narrow specific one is the Government of Canada does not track a dollar of debt that is raised against specific dollars of expenditure. So it is not possible to say X dollar in X program is related to X dollar of debt raised. So that's kind of a difficult and impediment to get over. But that being said, very clearly Canadians have an interest in the debt level of their governments, and that is transparent, and there are costs to carrying that debt. There is no doubt about that.
But the cost incurred with borrowing the debt in 2012, because that's essentially what we did, is we borrowed the money that we invested.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, and it isn't quite that way as the explanations have happened, because
what I'm saying is there's still a tangible cost. There's still a tangible cost to that money that was invested.
There was money committed.
There's a tangible cost to the money committed.
No, but I'm making a distinction that's real. There is money committed. The money flows, as we've explained, right, over time through share purchases, some of which have happened, some of which will happen this year, some of which will happen next year.
I understand.
And as that money flows in, it is, or prior to it flowing in, government goes and raises money in the markets. So it's not a question of tracking down the when the government went to the market in 2012 and the cost of that capital.
No, but what I'm saying is that each point along the way, I understand that all the money is not flows through all at once, but at each time that money is committed from the federal government to this fund of funds as their portion, there's still a cost associated with each time that happens over the life of the fund of funds. So there's still a tangible cost there, along with the cost of administrating that fund, right?
Which is built into the capital cost, but I take your point,
right?
Yeah.
So there is a tangible, real, calculatable cost.
I guess my assertion is it's not calculable. It is in the abstract, but are we going to look at the 90-day bond that's released, the 10-year bond that's released, the 30-year bond, or the 50-year bond? Which one will be used to, because governments don't tag when they go to the market to raise money, they do not tag that debt to a specific expenditure. It's to cover government expenditures over time. So in principle, I completely understand what you're saying. There is a real cost to servicing debt, but it's not a calculation that can be made in respect of an individual dollar which is spent or invested.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. I will now move to